Hello everyone, I'm Paula and welcome to Paula Forrester's Mysterious Ways. In the play Hamlet, Shakespeare wrote, "There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in Yori's philosophy." And tonight's two guests definitely reflect that. My first guest is an astrologer who combines the astrological chart with shadow work to assess and empower people to live to their full potential. Next, we'll take a tour of a hidden gem in the Hudson Valley with over 2,000 types of high-grade oils, hand-dipped incenses, homemade soaps, mists, oils, body sprays, aromatherapy, and more, most of which can be blended into magical formularies. But first, let's meet Leon Itskov. He's an astrologer who's been fascinated with the meaning of the stars and the planets since he was a boy in the Ukraine. Welcome, Leon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Leon. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First of all, what is astrology?
Astrology is a study of cycles, planetary cycles. Essentially, since the ancient times, people noticed that there is a pattern. Just like we all know, the sun comes up in the morning and leaves in the evening.
And how old is the practice, art, and science of astrology?
There's really no way of knowing because apparently, as it turns out, it's as ancient as the civilization itself.
Okay, tell me a little bit about your background with astrology.
Well, essentially, I was always very curious and interested to know the signs of everyone in my family, all my friends and relatives. And it just did make sense to me since the early age. And then one day, I became much more interested and I found a teacher. And so the process started.
Now, you use shadow work in combination with doing charts. What is shadow work?
Shadow work, in a nutshell, is anything in ourselves that has been disowned. So, for example, if we grow up in a family where showing emotions was not very safe, for example, in a lot of families, being angry is not accepted. And so the child learns that showing anger prevents the child from being loved. And gradually, anger ends up being in our shadow. And once it's in our shadow, it actually starts controlling us where we cannot express it in a healthy ways.
So you do a chart for me, say, and we do some shadow work, and you find out a bunch of not so nice things about me growing up in the past, and you also do past lives and histories of people. How do you get past the emotions that come up when you tell me that maybe my father was not such a great guy when I was growing up? How do I deal then with the emotions that arise from that?
Right, a very good question. Essentially, the only way to get past those emotions is through them. So we do need to go back to the original wound and heal that part. Now, for many people, it does sound pretty scary. It's the last thing that they want to do. But once they embark on this work and then they realize that every coping mechanism that they've come up with in order to deal with the original trauma. At the time when they came up with this mechanism, it was an intelligent development. It was our intelligence that protected us from being hurt. But now, as adults, we actually do have the capacity to process all of these emotions, which as children we did not have the bandwidth to process.
And how do we process past life recall? How do we process that? How do we know that it's even real, or we're just making something up in our minds that we hope would be real?
Right. Well, the essential thing about the past lives, it's not really who we were or where we were. Because whatever is transpiring in this life, in a nutshell, is pretty much the consequence and the repetition of the lessons and dramas and traumas that we need to grow through and learn from. So it's not so much about what happened, it's really actually more about what's happening now. And if we take into account that everyone we know in this life, especially our close family, friends, may have been somebody with whom we have unfinished business, and we take responsibility for our part in this unfinished business.
Right.
However we find ourselves to be, whether we are the victims or the perpetrators, it's our responsibility to take a look at our part.
Do you recommend people get further readings or go for psychoanalysis or something to look at this even further?
I definitely do. I think everyone could use psychoanalysis, therapy, shadow work. It's almost like, going to a dentist every 6 months. It's something that we all need. We just need to share and process life.
Tell me the difference between natal charts and other types of charts. Because we're all used to saying, well, I'm a Taurus and I've got Leo rising and my moon is in Scorpio, which it is. And but that would be my natal chart. What is the difference between my natal chart and other types of charts that you do that are available?
Essentially, you can create a chart for any event in your life or even questions. So, natal chart specifically is created for a person's birth time, birthplace, and a birth date. So, depending where you were born, at what time you were born, your chart is unique and unrepeatable.
Mm-hmm. So going to one of these online services and paying $30 for a natal chart isn't going to tell me very much.
Well, it could tell you something. The problem with the online services is that the computer essentially just generates different pieces of information. So let's say you have moon in Scorpio, it's going to tell you about the moon in Scorpio. It's going to tell you about your intense emotional transformation. Then if you have a sun in Taurus, it's going to tell you that you are somebody who has very strong values, that you have a sense of perseverance and strength, and essentially you're working on incarnating spirit into the matter and into the body. What the astrological reports from the computers do not tell you is how everything fits together and how all the planets actually talk to each other.
And that would be somebody like you to interpret that?
Well, so far you actually need human intelligence to combine all this and put this together. So essentially, yes, we do interpret and translate, because it's not just locations of planets, it's also their relationships between each other and how they're located in the chart, from a big picture analysis perspective.
Okay. Astrology has changed since the invention of the telescope and the discovery of new planets like Pluto and Uranus and so forth. How has this affected old time astrology?
Yes, indeed. Well, up until the middle of 18th century, um, we were able to see only up to Saturn with the naked eye. And so planets Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, and others discovered afterwards, were not part of our consciousness. So, since the discovery specifically of Neptune in the 18th century, Uranus, and Pluto, um, we have incorporated the archetypes of these planets into the natal chart and also as transits because essentially um, those planets are the ones that actually create the evolution of the soul. Whenever there is a transit of Pluto or Uranus or Neptune, it takes us beyond ourselves. You know, when there's a transit of Mars or Saturn, it's something that we need to do and something that we need to take responsibility for.
What does
Whenever
a transit mean?
transit means essentially is when the planet passes over your natal chart position of a particular planet. So it's an
Okay.
influence which could last between a month or 2 years, depending on how slow the planet is. And Pluto is one of the most slow moving planets. And so the transit of Pluto could last about a year or 2 years. That's the beauty of
Wait,
astrology because when people know that
yeah.
something is the Pluto transit is coming, number one, we also understand what's happening in our lives. It gives us perspective. Number two,
Mhm.
it gives us a specific area of our life and specific archetypes that we are working with. And number three, it also tells us when this will be over. Because when we're going through something difficult, it almost seems like this is going to be that way forever.
Right, right. Now, when I got married the second time, we got a computer generated chart done comparing the two of us to each other and seeing how compatible we are. And boy, do I want my money back on that one. But do you recommend having charts done to compare you to another person, whether or not it's marriage, relationship, business dealings, contracts, things like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The more knowledge you have, the more control you have. And so you can foresee pitfalls or you can see auspicious events and progress.
Why are so many people afraid of a Mercury retrograde? First of all, what is a Mercury retrograde? For those who don't know.
Yeah, Mercury retrograde is happening about 3 times a year. And um, essentially, if we were to look the naked eye at the planet, it would appear that it was moving backwards in the sky. And it all has to do with just uh, physics of movement between the Earth, the Sun, and the planet Mercury. And indeed, a lot of people are scared and cautious. And what I have found in my practice and from research is that Mercury retrograde is a very useful time because there's no mistakes in nature. And since Mercury retrograde is happening, we actually need to find what's the benefit of it. And so, quite often, people find that things stop working. Their life just takes a turn out of nowhere in a
Mhm.
direction they did not expect. And so, what I always
I
recommend,
always have a lot of mechanical problems when Mercury goes retrograde.
yeah, yeah, indeed, technological problems,
Hmm.
communication problems, because Mercury
Right,
is, a planet of communication. And
right.
so, what I always recommend, depending on where the Mercury retrograde is happening, is actually to think outside the box and to shake up your life, to reevaluate how you communicate with people, how you do things. So, for example, if you always listen to classical music, During Mercury retrograde, you might want to listen to jazz. If you drive to work in a particular way, maybe during Mercury retrograde, you are going to drive another way. So if we consciously participate in this shift, it's going to give us a new perspective. So essentially, it's helping us to have a perspective on the ways we're just accustomed and living our life in habitual ways.
Right. So, Leon, if somebody wanted to contact you to get some information, have you do a chart for them, interpret the chart for them, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure. You can send me an email. It's litskov@gmail.com, or this information on
Can
my
you spell that
website.
out for us, please?
Sure. The website address is leonitskov.com, leonitskov.com.
Okay. And how long does it take to get a chart? And can they book time with you, like on the phone, for you to interpret the chart for them?
Absolutely. They can book the times through the website, and they can see the description of the readings and the sessions that I do. And usually it takes me a couple of days to prepare, create the chart, research it, and that's that.
Okay. Well, it was nice seeing you at the Awakened Fair yesterday. And thank you, Leon, for being a guest with us tonight. And keep reaching for the stars.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paula.
Okay. Kris Vass has begun her love of oil with Egyptian musk when she was a small child. She used to go on tours with her father to flea markets and vending events and learn the business that way. From there, the rest is history. Did you ever need a magical oil and simply couldn't find a high-grade ingredient to rub on a candle, make a diffuser, burn it, spray it, wear it, or more? Yeah, have you ever been disappointed when you go into a botanica or a cheaper store and everything sells the same and is cheaply packaged, and you never know what you're going to get? Well, Kris Vass has the answer for that. What started as a handful of oils has bloomed into over 2,000. She'll even custom blend you whatever you like, an oil, an incense, a soap, and more. I know somebody that has oils from the old magical child from the 80s and 90s. The labels have disappeared, but she still has a little bit of the ingredients in there. And Kris could smell the oil, tell you what's in it, and reblend for you what's in the oil. So without further ado, let's go inside. Her shop is a treasure chest of magical goods. So let's take a look inside Body Oils, New York. Hi, Kris.
Hi, Paula. How are you? So good to see you.
You too. Mwah.
Welcome to Body Oils, New York.
Thank you.
Let me show you around.
Yes, please.
So on this table here, there are about 900 different fragrances of cosmetic grade body oil, which is copies of designer fragrances, perfumes, and colognes. But we have 2,000 fragrances total, and that encompasses musk, fruits, florals, essential oils as well. Come on.
So, Kris, you dip your own incense here.
Yes, we do 1-inch cones, we do 11-inch sticks, 19-inch sticks, and also we do backflow cones. So those are for the burners where it reverses itself and comes down, like in the fountains.
And in a little while, we're going to be able to dip our own incense, right?
Absolutely. We're going to get to see how it's done. And like I said, it's simple, but it's messy.
So, Kris, what is this?
This right here is all fragrance oil and cosmetic grade oil in different sizes. The top 2 rows are 2-ounce fragrance oil and 4-ounce fragrance oil, used in cool mist diffusers, oil burners, can be used for candles. They're high fragrance oil that isn't allowed on the skin. We can do any of our 2,000 fragrances that are in here in fragrance oil. On this wall over here and this wall over here, this is where the musks are. So this is musk, and then it continues alphabetically into fruits, florals, and home smells. We can hand mix anything you want, so if there's something special that somebody wants, we can go ahead and do that with no problem at
So
all.
if I sent you a formula of something I wanted to make, even if it was a small bottle, you'd do it for me?
Absolutely.
And you mail order?
I can mail order, we deliver for local, absolutely.
Okay.
And people come in and they have like bottles of perfume that are no longer existent, they're no longer made, we match those up.
Tell our viewers where your store is located.
We're located at 157 Dolson Avenue in Middletown, New York, right next to IHOP. We share a parking lot with IHOP. Come on down.
So what are these?
These are all cosmetic grade body oils, and they are fruits, florals, home smells, things like that. They can be used in a diffuser, but they are primarily for the skin. We also have a full group of essential oils, so if you wanted to do an anointing oil or you wanted to do something magical, we can absolutely mix that for you.
What would you suggest mixing onto a candle? Say you wanted to anoint a candle with magical oil.
Depends what you're doing. I have a nice anointing oil that I already have made here. That's cassis, cinnamon, frankincense, myrrh.
Say I was doing a money spell and I had a money formula made up. What would you suggest
We could
putting on the candle?
could do a mixture of frankincense with some sandalwood, jasmine, and a little bit of myrrh. Definitely do like a money drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to mix some oil?
Sure.
Let's go.
Okay. So Kris, let's make some money oil.
Let's make some money oil.
Let's make some money.
We can do that. I brought out some great essential oils. I brought out some sandalwood, some myrrh, some jasmine, and some frankincense. And we are going to mix it in a clear one today just so you can see what's going on. Normally I would put it into an amber bottle, which protects it from sunlight. Makes it last longer. So we're going to do a quarter of everything here with the exception of myrrh, which we're only going to do a few drops of. Doesn't matter which one we start with, so long as we keep even amounts as we go through. I'm only going to do a little bit in here of each one. Literally just that much.
Now I've seen some people add a drop or two of food coloring
You
to
could
add color magic to
absolutely vegetable
oils.
coloring is what I would use for that. The only thing with vegetable coloring, and it's more protected in the amber bottles, vegetable coloring in the sunlight will actually fade this back to clear. So that's why we do that. This, because it's made with essential oils, is great for dipping incense in and doing that. If you're going to use it on your skin, needs a carrier oil. And
what's a carrier oil?
carrier oils are very, very simply clear oils that have no smell to them, and they have different moisturizing properties. So those moisturizing properties, depend on what you use it for. Fractionated coconut oil is one of my favorites. If you take regular coconut oil and you heat it past the point of boiling, it separates. That heavy top stuff is taken off, and what's left over in the bottom is fractionated coconut oil or MCT oil. You can put that in the refrigerator or the freezer and it'll never turn hard.
And where would you find something like that?
You could find it here, you could find it in any health food store.
You sell it on your website?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's your website?
It is www.bodyoilsny.com.
A book I like to use is the Enchanted Formulary by Lady Rhea. It's kind of a knockoff of the Magical Formulary by Herman Slater. She just changed some of the ingredients, but you can't find a copy of the Magical Formulary by Herman Slater for less than $400. I remember years back in Enchantments when they were $9.95. So, but this is not the book, and these are not the formulas that Kris uses. Kris uses her own formulas. So let's dip some incense.
Absolutely. This is a money drawing oil right here. And basically anytime you do incense, you're actually doing half fragrance oil. The other half is DPG, which is a clear cutting oil. Without that, you would get black smoke off of your incense and your whole entire house would be a mess. It would be something you wouldn't want to do.
DPG stands for dipropylene glycol.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I have half oil in here already. I'm going to pour the other half in for the DPG. And I probably will add a little bit more DPG into here when we put it in, because I'm actually going to dip 4 bundles instead of 1. So we have it.
Now the blank sticks with no fragrance on them are called punk sticks, right?
They're called punks from back in the 60s. Yeah. The sticks used to be a compressed manure years ago. Now they're actually a compressed wood. So the actual stick part itself is bamboo. The callus is the wood that's actually used on the stick part itself, and it's from an evergreen tree. So basically what I do, very, very simple, after I put it together and I shake it, is I pour it into here. Comes out nice and slow. And then I'm actually going to put the whole bundles in here. The sticks are left in here to soak for about 48 hours. And then they're taken out to dry. Once they're taken out to dry, they are actually put in a hanging device that I have in my shop. And they're left like that for about 12 hours. And then they're put back into the bucket for another 6. And then they are laid out on newspaper to dry.
Wow, it's quite a process.
It is. From this right here, from this whole entire bucket that I have in here, probably will be able to dip probably about 36 bundles. Might go. Sometimes I'll add a little bit more DPG and a little bit more money oil in there, but that is the proper way to do it, so the whole entire stick gets soaked. Once that is all finished and it's all completely dry, then it is bagged and labeled.
How many types of incenses do you sell here?
I have 200 here, but with the 2,000 oils that we have, we can dip anything. So we get a lot of special requests that we'll do for people.
Like what types of incenses do you have?
Everything from Three Kings to Black Cherry Bomb to Wicked Magic to Vanilla. Just whatever you can think of, we have. Whatever combination you want, we can do.
Kris, you have a wide variety of crystals here that go along with the oils. Do you suggest people put oils on the crystals?
Yep, that can happen. It depends what somebody's intention is. So we carry raw crystals because they have the strongest power in them opposed to tumbled stones. And I always tell everybody it depends what your intention is, because you're setting your intention into there. So once you cleanse your stone, you're putting your intention into it. Depends if you're looking for purification, whatever it might be.
And raw stones are better than tumbled stones because tumbled stones, don't they have a glaze on them?
They do, and you're starting to lose the raw energy that comes from that. So everything that we carry here is all untumbled stones, all raw. Everything's alphabetical as you go through.
So you have agates, moss agates, amethyst, Mexican amethyst, garnets, rose quartz.
Almost anything that you can think of as you come on down this way. There's iron pyrite, there's pink calcite, green honey calcite, red calcite, shungite, a whole big assortment here. Our popular stones are probably a clear quartz and a black tourmaline. And black tourmaline, great for dispelling negativity, so you're getting a lot of that now with everything going on with the pandemic. But it really depends on what somebody's intention is and what somebody's coming in for.
So say I wanted a money stone, what would you suggest?
Green aventurine. Green aventurine is good for abundance and for bringing wealth and happiness.
And love?
And love, definitely rose quartz. Rose quartz is the universal stone of love. Beautiful and gorgeous. I mean, coming in and just being able to feel them and hold them, to be able to get the energy in your hands, very, very important. So we always let people take the time to feel the different stones, to hold them within your hands like this, to actually get a feel of the energy. I have a beautiful piece of big selenite if you'd like to feel some of the energy.
Sure. So this is an absolutely beautiful stone. Tell me about this.
Thanks. This is a really large piece of raw selenite, and I brought this over because I want you to be able to feel the energy. Putting your hands very close to it without actually touching it, and you'll start to feel, it starts to feel very warm and very tingly.
Oh, yeah.
The longer you leave it there, the more you can feel. Selenite is a very strong vibrational stone, used to charge and also used for, for good energy and resetting yourself.
For balance?
For balance.
It's very beautiful.
When people come in for the first time, I always have them put their hands there because they don't know what it's like to pick out a stone, to be able to feel the energy, and this gives them an idea of what they'll be feeling.
Would this be considered a geode?
Yes.
Okay. Which is something that's...
Yeah, when it's cut in half. And
cut in half.
A whole entire piece that's cut in half, it's called a geode.
Right. So, Kris, these are really beautiful. Tell me what they are.
Thanks. These are great resin pieces. Wonderful for the altar. This is all phases of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Pentacles in there. These are rune boards. I also have rune chips that are in there. They have the Odin one in there, which is the one that's what's yet to come.
This would make a beautiful altar pentacle.
Absolutely. It's beautiful.
They're made by a local artist?
She is. She's in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Danielle. She's wonderful. She works with resin so well and uses so many nice resin micas and things in there. They're gorgeous.
And you have tarot cards.
I do. I'm just going to grab this right here. You can see this a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
These are the 22 major arcanas that she does in these.
Mm-hmm.
You can do these in full sets as well as individuals,
Mm-hmm.
and almost any color.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I have her doing this orange right here, the
Mm-hmm.
22 major arcanas. They'll be in next week.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a really, really nice green set that she'll be doing as well,
Mhm.
like this.
So, Kris, tell me about the soaps you have here. Do you make them yourself?
Yeah, so what you see in front of you is goat's milk soap. It's actually made with real goat's milk and it is in a melt and pour. We do have glycerin and loofah as well. We have a whole organic section of Shaolian soaps. We have sea moss soaps. There's a very wide selection of organic soaps here to use.
So, Kris Vass, nice Polish girl.
Oh, nice. I like that. She's doing Greek jokes at me already.
So, how did you first get started in the oil business?
I actually was a young child who used to go to flea markets with my father and loved Egyptian musk. So I'm a diehard fan right there. As I got older, I did numerous things, and starting off with a theater arts degree, and then went on to get 2 chemistry degrees. So I was actually in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I woke up and said, hey, I can make that Egyptian musk. So that's how I started to do that, by sending out copies of perfumes and different things like that to a lab for analysis, which gave me a breakdown of all the base oils, how much alcohol was in there, pesticides, anything else that might be in there that was really, really toxic for the skin, and made it without it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started. And I started with 22 different fragrances, and now we're up to 2,000. So,
Where have your stores been? And I know you have a big workshop where you blend everything and you bring it into the store.
this is my 30th year, and I started off with wholesale. So I started off wholesaling oils and incense, and then I actually went out on the road and I did outdoor shows, things like that, built up a little bit of a following. And I was actually in the Middletown Flea Market for 15 years before moving into this space. So I've been here for about 3 years.
And how's business?
I love it. It's great. It's really, really great being over here. I mean, we can always use more people, so if there's anybody that wants to come out, come visit the store, we'll gladly welcome them here. But we still do wholesale, and we do retail as well, and we have 2,000 square foot here now. So
And you do mail order, which is very important because our viewers are from all over the country.
absolutely, mail order, local people delivery, but mail order anywhere and delivery even outside of the country. I have a lot of customers in Spain.
Really?
Yeah, Spain's
Why
probably
Spain?
our biggest area. I had a person out there at one point in time who wanted to open up their own store, and from that, I think they only lasted out there for like 3 years, but all their customers became my following, and they multiplied. They had a domino effect. So I probably have about 50 or 60 customers just from Spain.
What is your most popular oil that you sell here?
That's really, really hard because it depends if somebody is a musk lover or if we're talking perfume fragrances. I'd have to say that Egyptian musk is one of the most popular fragrances of everything that is here, as well as patchouli.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's followed, when I go into the designers, by things like Sauvage by Dior, which is very hot in the market now for men, and Baccarat Rouge 540 for women. Those are the popular ones right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that varies, you know what I mean? It depends what commercials run on TV. It depends, sometimes people come in and they want things matched up. So there's a perfume that they absolutely love that isn't made anymore. We can take care of that and match it up.
Nice.
So we try to do that while people wait. Sometimes they have to leave it with us.
Very nice.
Yeah. Makes it really, really interesting. And I get a lot of old fragrances coming in, things that, I hadn't seen in years. So we carry everything from things in the 50s like Shalimar and Chanel No. 5, L'air de Temps by Nina Ricci. A lot of the older stuff from then who was very, very popular, still popular today.
Do you have a mixture of men and women that shop here?
Absolutely.
Would you say it's an even mixture, mostly female, mostly guys?
It's hard, but I'm going to say it's about 60-40 in favor of women.
Mm-hmm.
But we do get a lot of men coming in. And people are so surprised when, they finally get to try oils over perfume. A lot of people say, I really can't use fragrance because I get irritated. And they don't realize that it could be the alcohol, but it can also be all the pesticides that are inside the fragrances nowadays.
Why are there pesticides in fragrances?
I really couldn't tell you that. I could tell you that some of the fragrances, though, could actually be used as bug spray if they weren't sweet or so spicy. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. And very, very toxic to the body. And an oil lasts all day long. So you could put on 2 or 3 drops in the morning, and that's at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 10 o'clock at night, still smell that same fragrance.
Now, I've noticed you sell lava bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
And you can anoint the oils onto lava bracelets, and
Absolutely.
it'll keep the fragrance throughout the day?
It's a volcanic bead, so it's very, very porous.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a little bit onto a paper towel and rub it, it's absorbing right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasts for about 2 weeks. If you want to change the fragrance, then you can stick it into a cup in the sink with a little bit of dishwashing liquid, about 5 minutes, put it onto a paper towel, it dries right away, and then you can rescent it with something else. The other thing we do is a dry mist spray. So if somebody's used to spraying something onto their hair, their clothes, they want to use it as a room spray, we can make a dry mist spray for them that has 2 emulsifiers to hold on to the smell without alcohol. Liquid silk base, which is an agent that takes away the greasiness from it, so it doesn't stain your clothes. Aloe vera extract, distilled water, and then the fragrance. The only thing you can't spray it on would be silk, because even water stains silk. So some nice little variants that people can use. If you're so used to a perfume, you have that variation that you could still use in an oil.
So you'd say a lot of people come in with old fragrances that they want recreated?
Lots of times.
Really?
Yeah. I just had somebody come in with a fragrance that their mom had given them. Amber Romance is a fragrance by Victoria's Secret. And this was like, I guess it was kind of like a knockoff copy that somebody had, and it had more amber in it. And she said, can you, go and match this up for me? And I said, absolutely. Can you give me like 5-10 minutes? And it came out, and she was like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. She sent me this beautiful love note telling me how wonderful it was and how happy her mom was. So a lot of times we can make people really happy by bringing back, something that they love so much. Smell just like brings back a different feeling to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like music. Music and smells go hand in hand.
So if somebody, say, sent you through the mail a fragrance that they wanted recreated, you would mail it back to them?
Absolutely. As long as I had a small enough sample that I can smell and get an idea from, then I can go ahead and match that
You
up.
have a trained nose.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really, really funny because everybody has a little different talent. I have one of those talents where no matter how many things I smell, I never lose my sense of smell, and I'm able to pick up on that and actually just recreate it by smell.
Do you use the coffee beans to clear your senses?
I don't have to do that, believe it or not.
Really?
Most people will use coffee beans because everybody loses their sense of smell at a different rate. So some people can smell 2 things, need to smell some coffee beans, then they might smell 2 more and can't smell anything at all. Other people will smell for a while and then pick up something that's sweet and say it smells like peppermint or eucalyptus because they're starting to lose their sense of smell. That's when coffee beans helps eliminate all those extra smells, and they can continue to smell different fragrances.
Well, Kris, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks for coming and visiting. It was so nice to have you here. I appreciate it.
Yes, and give us your information, your phone number, your website if people want a mail order, and your location.
Absolutely. So we're located at 157 Dolson Avenue in Middletown, New York, right next to IHOP. It's 157 Middletown, New York, 10940. Our phone number is 845-479-OILS, which translates into 845-479-6457. And they can find us online at www.bodyoilsny.com.
Thank you, Kris. This has been great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And then that Kris does require that you wear a mask in her store, and they do take your temperature when you go in. And she does not provide masks for people. But if you're in the Middletown area, she's definitely worth going in to see her shop. She's closed Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but she's open every other day. Call ahead if you don't know, or get her on the website. And definitely check out her website. And like I said, magical oils. If you've got a formulary and you want a high quality magical oil blended, she will definitely do it for you. Just talk to her to see what her minimum order is. And Kris is very fair and very nice and a really nice person, really good energy. And so if you want somebody with positive vibrations to make your oils, Kris is a person to go to. On next Tuesday's show, come along and meet Melissa Soma, owner and proprietor of Light Club Curiosity Shop, a gorgeous and very witchy store in Sugarloaf, New York. And we will be learning all about angel cards and the archangel cards and how to read them and how to work with them. Until then, have a happy Thanksgiving, be safe, and blessed be.